I'm Mason Mount. You're listening to the London is Blue podcast.
All right. So as we mentioned, the second point is all about Frank and discussing who is going to stay with the squad and who might head out. One person we know right away is headed out is Ethan Ampadu. Silves, quick reaction on Ampadu going to potentially Red Bull Leipzig in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, it's a great loan for him. I think it's a really good breeding ground for young players. Such as Jordan Sancho. I think he's a competitive league. He's going to a good team. I think he'll be a real make it to him. He's a year away from home at a young age. I think they picked the loan very well for him. I think he'll enjoy himself. I think he'll come back a better player.
Yeah, I actually think it's one of the most astute loan moves we've seen so far this offseason. Obviously, Ampadu is someone we've all looked at who has the ability to boss around people 20 years his senior and make them listen, which is a talent unto itself, and has shown an ability to be fearless and relentless in his challenges, and most likely would get played in a midfield position, which I think is, obviously where he plays for the Welsh team, where he has kind of shown some success in kind of a defensive midfield role. So under the tutelage of Nagelsmann, which I think is going to be very, very beneficial to him, he's going to do exceptional. I think it's going to make us, similar to how some of us would watch a Derby County match last season to see how Mount and Tomori were doing. I think some of us are going to be watching Leipzig matches to see how Ampadu's getting along.
As if you weren't watching Derby specifically for Frank. Don't lie.
Well, yeah, that as well. Look, it was basically like the Chelsea B team.
Yeah, sorry, Vitesse. That ship has sailed.
Mike, I was going to ask you, which position do you think he's
Great question.
Finally going to settle into? Because my guess is midfield, probably the base of a midfield, probably an N'Golo Kante style destroyer. But I don't know. Maybe he's going to play center back in the Bundesliga. You don't have to be huge.
That's my guess.
Oh, yeah. Right back. Okay, interesting.
I don't know. I think Frank's spoken on it earlier, and I'm one for tactical flexibility. I think that good players should be able to move around. I did it as a player, and I think it really helps you to be able to play in both positions because if he has that understanding of how to be at center back, he's going to be a better defensive midfielder to help cover his center backs when he's playing. It's just a deeper understanding of how those two sync up and what kind of cover he needs to add. It will be really interesting. I always think it's really tough to see players play different positions sometimes than what their national team is. So, I would agree. I think I would love to see him in the midfield, and I think if that works for Wales and that works for him, I think that would be probably the best scenario for me.
Well, the continuity would be key.
Yeah.
Let's get him to a point where he's actually established himself in a particular position and is really getting an opportunity to make it his own versus the flipping back and forth. Yes, I know, Christensen is another player who's flexed around when he goes back to the Danish national team because they'll play him in a defensive midfielder position and then also play him at because they won't play him at center back because they're absolutely loaded on center backs. So yes, tactical flexibility is helpful, but I'd really like at this point in his career for him to get settled into a style of position and use this year to get really, really good and potentially be fighting for a squad position at Chelsea next season.
Well, and I was going to pass to Silves really quick. I think there are two key points here. One being that it's a different level of fitness playing center back and playing defensive midfield. N'Golo Kante, Terminator, Destroyer. Second point being, I think there are a lot of people, even like Dean Mears on Twitter, Dan Silves, that don't think that he's good enough to make it at Chelsea. I disagree. I think he's going to be wonderful and potentially a captain-esque pick someday. But what are your thoughts on Ampadu?
I think he's got huge talent. I think he'll end up being defensive midfielder. Personally, I don't know whether he's quite got the height or the attack to be centre back. Ake's probably a good player, but he's not quite top level because he hasn't got the height or the dynamism to be a really top class centre half. I think we'll see him playing defensive midfield. So he likes to tackle, he puts his foot in. I think that's where his best role will be.
Yeah, I think the hardest part is just his ability to stay healthy. I think when you have a player who goes kind of balls out the way he does, it's tough to keep that level of game and stay fit. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe the Bundesliga, he can kind of, I don't know, shape his style of play a little bit better to keep him healthy for a whole season.